in the middle of a high-profile live broadcast watched by millions. A tense exchange unfolded that no one could have scripted. Elizabeth Warren, standing at the podium with her usual sharp tone, looked directly at Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the young leader from Burkina Faso, and with a half-smile, mocked him. Her words carried the unmistakable air of superiority. She dismissed him as inexperienced, uneducated, and out of his depth in global politics. The studio grew quiet for a moment as her remark cut through the air like a knife, and for a brief second, it seemed as though Warren had secured the upper hand. But what happened next completely shifted the energy in the room. Without hesitation, Traoré leaned forward, his gaze steady, his voice calm yet piercing. He spoke not as someone who needed validation from Western politicians, but as a man grounded in the weight of his people's history. He reminded Warren that while she measured intelligence by degrees and institutions, he measured it by resilience, by the ability to lead a nation through storms of poverty, foreign exploitation, and decades of neglect. He spoke of a different kind of education, one forged in the villages of Africa, where survival demanded creativity, discipline, and heart. The clapback was not loud, nor was it aggressive, but it carried a force stronger than any insult. Traoré's words sliced through Warren's mockery and exposed its fragility. He told her, in front of millions, that true leadership was not about standing behind the shield of wealth or privilege, but about standing bare-chested before one's people, ready to absorb their struggles and transform them into hope. The crowd, initially unsure of how to respond, erupted into applause. The host, visibly shaken, tried to shift the conversation, but the moment had already taken on a life of its own. Warren attempted to interject, but the firmness in Traoré's tone silenced her. He continued, recounting his journey from a modest upbringing to becoming a figure of resistance against foreign control in his country. He explained that while she and many others in the West studied politics in classrooms, his classroom had been the battlefield of hunger, the streets of youth unrest, and the hard lessons of seeing his people exploited for generations. The way he told his story wasn't filled with bitterness but with dignity. His words reminded everyone listening that strength isn't just learned, it's lived. The studio cameras caught Warren's face as she struggled to respond. Her lips pressed together, her hands clasped tightly, and for the first time in a long time, her characteristic sharpness was absent. Her eyes glistened slightly, betraying a rare vulnerability. The audience could see it. She had been shaken, not by insult, but by truth. Traoré's calm delivery had reached a part of her, and of many viewers, that few political speeches ever touch. It wasn't just a rebuttal. It was a revelation. What made the moment even more striking was how Traoré transformed a personal attack into a universal message. He turned Warren's mockery into a lesson on humility and the different forms of wisdom that exist in the world. He said that one cannot measure greatness by Western yardsticks alone, because the world is filled with leaders, thinkers, and dreamers who never set foot in Harvard or Oxford, but whose contributions shape nations. The soil teaches us, he declared. His voice steady, the rivers teach us. The pain of our people teaches us. And that is an education no institution can provide. The room fell silent again. But this time it wasn't out of shock, it was out of respect. Even those who might have disagreed with him politically could not deny the authenticity in his voice. He was not performing. He was speaking from the deepest layers of lived experience. Social media began to explode almost immediately. Clips of his response were posted and reposted within minutes, spreading like wildfire across Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Hashtags like #TraoréTruth and #ClapbackOfTheYear trended within hours. Commentators around the world began dissecting the exchange. Some praised Warren for initiating a tough conversation, but most focused on the dignity and power of Traoré's response. Analysts describe it as a moment when the global balance of moral authority shifted. Even if just for a few seconds, a young African leader had stood toe-to-toe with one of America's most established politicians, and left the room speechless. Meanwhile, in Burkina Faso, crowds gathered in front of television screens and smartphones, watching their leader speak truth to power on the international stage. The pride was palpable. For many, this wasn't just about a single clapback. It was about reclaiming dignity that had long been denied. Parents told their children to watch closely, to see how words could be used as weapons of defense without ever raising a hand. Teachers replayed the clip in classrooms, explaining how courage could silence even the most powerful. Warren, for her part, attempted later to clarify her remarks, insisting that she hadn't meant to demean Traoré personally but had been making a point about the challenges of leadership on a global scale. Yet, the damage was already done. The viral nature of the exchange meant that her words were frozen in time, contrasted forever against Traoré's calm but cutting response. In the court of public opinion, she had been defeated not by aggression but by dignity. The days that followed only amplified the impact. Traoré gave interviews where he repeated the same message, that leadership is measured by service, not by status. He insisted that mocking someone's background is a symptom of arrogance, and arrogance blinds people to the truths of the world. His words resonated beyond politics, inspiring activists, educators, and ordinary people who felt overlooked by elites. They saw in him a reflection of their own struggles, proof that one could come from humble beginnings and still stand tall in the halls of power. The emotional weight of the moment lingered because it wasn't just about Warren or Traoré. It was about the clash of two worldviews, one that often dismisses voices from outside the Western establishment, and one that insists on being heard regardless of those dismissals. The confrontation laid bare the arrogance of assuming superiority based on titles and institutions, and it highlighted the profound power of authenticity. By the end of the week, millions had watched the clip. Comment sections overflowed with admiration for Traoré, with many saying they had never seen someone handle an insult with so much grace. Others noted that Warren's emotional reaction humanized her, too, showing that even seasoned politicians could be moved when confronted with unfiltered truth. The viral moment had become more than just a clash. It had become a story of vulnerability, dignity, and the redefining of what strength looks like. As the buzz continued, one thing became clear. This was a turning point for Ibrahim Traoré. No longer was he simply seen as the young leader of a small West African nation. In that single exchange, he had become a global symbol of resilience and fearless authenticity. And for those who witnessed it, whether in the studio or through their screens, it was a reminder that sometimes the most powerful victories are won not with force, but with words that carry the weight of truth.